being wanted in sports is always, kind of your number one. And so I think that helps. And then, the city itself, had talked to some of the girls. And so I think it all lined up really well, and it was an exciting new opportunity.
Hello and welcome back to Rinkside Rundown, the podcast that brings you inside the world of women's hockey, one story at a time. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and today on the show, I'm joined by Rylind MacKinnon, a defender from Cranbrook, British Columbia, who made her mark at the University of British Columbia as one of the top blue liners in all of U Sports. After spending last season with the Toronto Scepters in the PWHL, she's now preparing for a brand new season with a brand new team, the Boston Fleet. Rylind, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you. Appreciate this. Can't wait to dive in. So let's do just that. Since this is your first time on the show, I want to start at the beginning. What was it about hockey that hooked you and made you want to stick with it?
Yeah, I think I started because my brother played. He's
Mhm.
2 years older than me. So I saw him doing it, looked fun. I think I wanted to try it, and then I just had so much fun, made a lot of friends, and wanted to stick with it. Just loved the compete, and played a lot of hockey on the backyard outdoor rink, and so just had a lot of fun with a lot of friends.
Any story that involves an ODR, I just feel like is so quintessentially Canadian that it's like it just has to, hockey has to stick with you at that point. If ODR
Yeah.
is a part of your past, you have to stick with it.
Exactly, it's so much fun, like, every winter, just getting ready and getting the friends over to play a little scrimmage, it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Cranbrook for a moment here. Growing up there, um, what did hockey mean to you back then that you remember? And maybe how has that meaning changed for you over your career?
Yeah, as I said, it started as, fun and something to do with my friends that I went to school with, and, even my brother when we were playing just in the backyard. So it started out as fun, and I think it is still fun, and it's probably, I would say I've always been competitive, so I think it's probably still equally competitive. I think that's part of, getting to this level. Um, so I don't know if it's changed much, but I think, yeah, it's still the same game, and it's still a lot of fun, and sometimes you just have to remind yourself of that.
And you've mentioned your brother a couple of times as being sort of that inspiration for you, certainly early on. Who were some of those other role models for you early on in your career, and maybe especially as you've progressed throughout your career and you've started to realize like this is something that I really want to do and I really want to aspire to be X? Who were some of those players as well?
Yeah, I think the first, memory of watching, I think, women's hockey was the 2010 Olympics.
Mm.
So that was the Vancouver one. I think I remember that one. I don't remember any earlier. So I think that one, just following the games and looking at the rosters, I think, that group of women really kind of started it all, and for me, and that's who I kind of looked up to. So maybe it wasn't, a single player, but that is like one, ingrained memory of thinking like, wow, this is cool, like this is what I want to do.
Early in your career, when you were playing junior, you were playing for the Northern Alberta Extreme. What part of your game took the biggest leap during your time in that program? And what did you learn about yourself now that you're playing with, really great players at that level? What did it teach you about yourself during that time as well?
I put a lot of hours, and I was lucky enough to have a great coaching staff, and they would jump on early with me or stay out late and do, extra skills. That really helped, I think, my defensive game, as well as, gave me the confidence to push offensively in the CSSHL. And so
Mm.
that's kind of how, I developed, and I was lucky enough to have staff members that, wanted to work with me. I think that helped me a lot. And so yeah, that's one thing I take away, and just I think I put a lot of hours in, when I was with Saint FX and Nax now, called Nax now, but yeah, that's kind of what I take away from that.
And when you think back to those early years, what are some of maybe those lessons and those mindsets that you have maybe now applied even to this day, where you think back and it's really helped to shape how you approach the game? But I think even more so, and I know that this is, you were really young when you were playing there, but still, how it kind of made you or prepared you to be an athlete.
Yeah, I think, it was so you would practice in the morning, we go to school, all day, and then you'd work out after. And so I think I got used to kind of the day-to-day life that
Mm,
university had,
mm,
sometimes even longer, to be honest. And so I think that prepared me well. I think it prepared me mentally, as you ask. I think you just kind of got used to the hard work and the hours
mm.
there. And so I felt more ready going into university, and then certainly, here now in the PWHL, um, 'cause I don't have school anymore, so it's kinda nice, and it's so I think all those years, high school, university, have prepared me.
And so, I appreciate the segue here because I do want to talk about your time, as I mentioned, with the University of BC, UBC. Um, Especially because a lot of players here in Canada, when they think about pursuing a collegiate career, they think NCAA. Like typically, that seems to be the approach. That's often people's first option. There's the prestige of playing for many of those programs in the States, but you chose to stay here. You chose to attend UBC. What led to that decision?
Yeah, I think it was definitely a culmination of a few things. So I think I was looking at getting a good education. I've always wanted to pursue medical school. So that played a factor. I definitely was a little bit of a late bloomer for sure. I had some injuries in grade 11, and, wasn't getting scouted maybe as much as I wanted to from more schools. So that also played a factor. And then once I had actually toured UBC, met the staff and some of the girls when I went on my tour, I did really love it, and so it kind of just worked out well. They had a program that I liked, so it set me up for hockey, but it also set me up for, life after hockey, because I knew I'd get a good education, and then if I wanted to do, more years of school after playing, it would you know, go well into that. I wouldn't have any issues with, courses transferring and whatnot, so.
And how do you think it shaped you? Your time at UBC. How do you think it shaped you? Of course, as a player, of course, but also as a person.
Yeah, I think I was put into, leadership roles, and so I think that helped me grow as a person, and, to realize, or, have the experience of some more of the behind the scenes, and, trying to get a team to stick together, buy in, all those sorts of things that are talked about in leadership. I think I kind of got to witness that, firsthand, had to deal with some more problem solving types of matters, especially as I got older. So I think my leadership really, really grew at UBC. Um, and I was also lucky enough, we had a great staff, and so people were always willing to, jump out on extra ice or do extra skill sessions and stuff like that. And so I was fortunate enough to have the resources as well. And so it kind of clicked, and I put a lot of hours in, became more confident with that work, and that has definitely helped me get to where I am today.
And you had mentioned about the importance of a good education, and that's part of the reason why UBC felt like the right fit for you. Having that kinesiology background, how did that knowledge, or did that knowledge maybe change how you approached your own training and how you understood your own limits as an athlete?
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting, because yeah, some of my classes were, quite specific, whether it was, more general health classes, or, sports medicine type, sports performance type classes. And so I always found those interesting, because then it kind of made sense as I got a little bit older how the training varied. and how, each training block was different and kind of some of the things we were doing, whether in the gym or on the ice, how it did end up making sense when you looked at, the research and the papers and what the professors were getting you to do. So it's nice, yeah, it was nice when it kinda clicked and you look back, you think, "Oh, that's why we did whatever X, Y, and Z is because there was actually a scientific reason. It wasn't just, for whatever fun or, you know?"
Yeah, it's interesting because in the moment, I'm sure you're like, "What? This doesn't make sense. I don't know why
Yeah.
I'm doing this." And now that you're older, you're like, "Oh no!" And it almost has become an innate part of how you approach the game, especially heading into your second pro season, is having this knowledge of the importance, the now more than ever, the importance of proper training, proper technique, proper nutrition, and all of those things as well.
Yeah, exactly. Kinda gives you some insight onto even, like, the fitness testing that you might not agree with, you know?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, of course. Um, your time at UBC, as I mentioned, was defined, of course, by just how productive you were. That's a big part of I think some of the exciting moments that you had throughout your collegiate career. But it was more than that because you were also, as you mentioned, you were a leader. You helped lead the team to multiple championships. Um, when you think about leadership, what does that mean to you?
Leadership to me, I think, is being, a role model that other people can look at and seek guidance from. So I think that's a big thing, leading by example. It's not always what you say. It's more so how you conduct yourself. Are you one putting in extra hours? Are you communicating effectively? What are the small things that you do? Like the respectful things even, just to kind of be that presence that some people think, "Oh, okay, that's how it's supposed to be done."
Mhm. Um, So, especially from a leadership perspective, you had alluded to it a little bit earlier, just around essentially the ups and downs of a season, the ups and downs of a collegiate career. I wanted to get your perspective because as a fan, we often just see obviously the score sheet, wins, losses, those sorts of things, but we don't necessarily see the journey that you go on through those ups and downs. So, I wanted to give you a chance to maybe talk about whether you want to be specific with a specific example of some adversity that you had to overcome, or just kind of more in general, however you want to approach it. But I'd love to hear from you how you overcame that, like maybe those examples, but also how you overcame the adversity and what you learned about yourself each and every time you've had to go through that adversity and you found a way to come out on top.
Yeah, I think an example maybe was it's more of like a group example, also kind of individual. So my second year at UBC, we weren't very strong. We had a huge, graduating class the year prior. And so we were definitely more in a rebuild and, things weren't going our way. I think, we hadn't scored a goal. Like we went on a stretch, hadn't scored a goal in 300 and some minutes of hockey, I think. It was it was tough. Like it was a tough time for everybody. I wasn't happy with my performance either. I had just been elected as like an alternating assistant captain. And so I was in the behind the scenes, leadership group meetings. And so things personally on the ice weren't going as well as you would hope, as a team too. And so I think that was a tough year. Um, but then kind of, COVID happened. There was a big reset. We all, kind of came together and we put a lot of hours in the gym. We were running, we were working out because there was nothing else to do. We weren't playing games in Canada. And so we basically just trained for it was just like such an extended off season. And I think, we had meetings and we grew as a team and we got closer as teammates. And so then we came out from that and ended up winning three Canada West championships, back to back.
Mhm.
And so I think what I learned from that is, to always, there's going to be ebbs and flows, I think. And so I think I like to remind myself that, is like, well, if things aren't going well, um, typically if you continue to work and you look, inward and see ask yourself what can you fix, I think, at the end of the day, it's likely gonna turn around. Like, I don't think you can always be in the hardship of things, right? Like, at some point, the work you put in is hopefully going to, be seen, and so I think that's kind of what happened, and I think that's sort of how you have to frame things. Like, it's not always gonna go your way, but, when it doesn't, you have to kinda stick to it and stick to what you know and just keep working.
Shifting now as we continue throughout your hockey journey, obviously is the PWHL. So before we get into your time with Toronto, and now, of course, looking forward to this brand new season with your brand new team, um, just what were your thoughts, especially thinking back to, as you mentioned earlier, the 2010 Olympics, seeing all those women playing, and then you're going through your hockey career, your collegiate career, saying, okay, it's great. I'm going to go to a great program. I'm going to be able to play hockey, but I also need that great education to rely on after I graduate. Now there's a pro league. What
Yeah.
were your thoughts heading into that first season?
Yeah, I think it's amazing that we have it now. We have the professional league, and I think there's been a lot of support, and so that's obviously a big reason as to it's doing so well, and it's because of that. And so I think that's exciting to see. I think it's exciting for, girls who are in my shoes, in the same like similar shoes and looking to go play and then now they have, at 13, 14 years old, instead of thinking, what university, what am I going to do after? This can be a goal for a while until they want to do something else or whatever it may be. And so I think it's exciting that it's here now.
And now let's talk about your own experience because you made that jump from U Sports to the PWHL, which is something we're starting to see more and more of. But of course, we often see a lot more from the NCAA to the PWHL. What was that jump like for you? How did you find that transition from U Sports to the PWHL? And as is a common theme on this show, what did you learn about yourself throughout that process?
Yeah, I think it's a lot faster here and the girls are a lot stronger than I think I was used to. So everything's at, a faster pace. And so I think you have to kind of just assess your own game and think, how can I get just a little bit faster in basically every realm, I would say. Um, and so, that's kind of what you learn game in each game or each practice, and you kind of just have to recalibrate your game to make up for and to catch up to the speed, I would say.
And you also had an opportunity, of course, with Toronto to play alongside many of the greats of the game, many of whom have represented their countries. Um, what did you learn from being around I don't want maybe it's not I shouldn't say it this way, but hockey royalty. It feels like they're hockey royalty and you're playing alongside them. You're in a dressing room alongside them. What were some of those things that you maybe learned from them, and maybe altered or changed or helped evolve your own approach to your game, but also as well as how you carry yourself as an athlete?
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool because you look at, those past Olympics and then you end up playing on a team with these same Olympians. So yeah, no, it's a very cool experience. I would say they just conduct themselves in such a professional way. And same with how their training works, like whether it's on the ice or off the ice nutrition, they just seem to be dialed with everything they do, which is, it's quite cool to see and how they've kind of figured out, what their body needs to perform and whatnot. And so I think um, what somebody else does, maybe not might not work for you, but the big takeaway is that, they have played the game for so long and they know themselves well enough that they know what their body needs to perform day in and day out.
Speaking of, some of those top players who represent their country, you now are moving to a new team who have a lot of those players as well. What are you looking forward to most about this season in Boston?
I think, yeah, I'm just looking forward to, a fresh start is always nice and just to get to know the girls and everything. Have already been practicing the last few days, so that's been a lot of fun. Um, and yeah, just to get to know the staff and everyone, I think that'll be a lot of fun. And I'm just looking forward to, we've got a great schedule and some cool takeover games. And so I'm looking forward to, yeah, to playing with this group and to seeing, yeah, to see how far, we can take things. I think there's a lot of fresh faces for everybody else here, um, so yeah, I think it's just a new fresh start for everyone.
Okay, so for what you can share, I would love to know what made Boston feel like a good fit for you as you look at continuing your professional career.
Yeah, I think they had interest, which is always, being wanted in sports is always, kind of your number one. And so I think that helps. And then, the city itself, had talked to some of the girls. And so I think it all lined up really well and it was an exciting new opportunity.
Yeah, and I guess that begs the question then, obviously when you think about women's hockey, Boston of course comes to mind as I would say arguably is one of those top places because you think of like things like the Beanpot, and
Yeah.
how important that is not only to the programs themselves, but the area and just how much enthusiasm and passion there is for that tournament. And that's only one example, of course.
Yeah.
How, when you talk about the city, how motivating is it to be a part of a community that has embraced not just the PWHL, of course, they've done that, but they have a history of embracing women's sports, and we're starting to see more and more of that in tournaments like the Beanpot.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, that's all you can really ask for as an athlete to have that support, and I think the city is going to be amazing for that. I mean, they've got, already such historical and very cool, uh, you know, professional teams here, and so to have, the Boston Fleet be supported, that's just amazing.
This may seem like a silly question because I think there's an easy answer, but I still want to ask it because I think that there's more to it here as well. When you if we're to now fast forward to the end of this season,
Mhm.
what would a successful year look like for you personally? Not the team aside, but you
Okay.
personally. Yeah.
I think a successful season would be, me contributing to the goals of the team. Um, and just, working towards, the team's ultimate goal. And so if I can contribute to that and I can, play my role and be confident in that, I think that's a successful year.
Love that. Okay. Last one for you before we hit the final buzzer segment of the show, the
Okay.
fun game to wrap things up, the tradition on the show. Um, but I want to hear when you look back at your path, what do you think has shaped you the most as a player, of course, once again, but as a person?
Ooh, that's such a there's so many years in between there.
I know, yeah, the question encompasses a long journey, but
Yeah.
but I know that there have been so many profound moments for you that have really helped to shape you. You don't have to list them all off, but
Yeah.
maybe some of those memories or those moments that have helped shape you.
Yeah, I think, moving away at a young age at 15, going to Edmonton, I think that was a big one. Uh, because that ultimately led me to be able to pursue hockey at UBC. And so I think the years between I was there from, 18 years old to 24. So I think those are probably the most growth probably happened within those years. And so I think, I've learned the most about myself, about hockey, probably while I was at UBC. And I had a lot of great teammates, when I was in my younger years, a lot of girls that I looked up to. And then, yeah, and then I think, absorbing those leadership roles always teaches you things. It can be hard and it can't be, it's not always easy, but I think those years, those 5 years at UBC, that was a lot of growth to kind of get myself as a player and a person to where I am now.
And a lot of success. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, final buzzer segment of the show. Quick rapid fire way to wrap up the show. The whole goal, it's really a test more for me because I'm going to try to ask zero follow-up questions about any one
Okay.
of your answers. But we'll see how long that lasts. Are you ready to take the test?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. What is your go-to pregame meal?
I typically like some rice, some chicken, and then maybe like a steamed vegetable.
Good choice. After a tough shift or a long practice, how do you like to unwind?
Maybe read or just put on a good Netflix show that I'm watching, like a good series maybe.
Okay, good. Is there a song or artist that's always helping you to get focused before puck drop?
It's more so just a jumbled up playlist. I am a big Swiftie, so sometimes I always go back to her.
That's fair. That's fair. Do you have any game day rituals or superstitions that you just have to stick to?
I always put the left side, the gear, like the left uh gear on first, so, like my left skate or like my left elbow pad's always going on before the right side.
Okay. If your teammates had to sum you up in just one word, what do you think that word would be?
It's probably different on and off the ice. I would say, maybe a competitor, hopefully confident or nice maybe. Depends
Okay.
on or off the ice, it'll
Yeah.
differ.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Totally reasonable. When you're not on the ice, what's your favorite place to relax or recharge?
Think just, on the couch or something, or if we have a sauna, if we have access to a sauna, I would love to do that.
All over that. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. What's the best piece or one of the best pieces of advice a coach or a teammate has given you that still sticks with you today?
I think to just trust myself. 'Cause at the end of the day, it'll work out. I've already gotten this far, by trusting myself and being confident in myself, and so I think that's something I always go back to.
Okay. So I feel like you just answered this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just in case you may have something else to say or add on to that. But when you look back at your younger self, what would you tell her about the journey ahead?
I would tell her to enjoy it and to have fun.
All right, simple advice. I love that. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that.
Of
That's
course,
great.
keep it
Uh,
simple.
of course, yeah. And that's a great way for us to end today's episode, Ryland. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule as you prepare for your brand new season with your brand new team, the Boston Fleet. Can't wait to cheer you on. I know that I speak for a lot of people when I say good luck this upcoming season.
Thank you, Chris, appreciate it.
And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow hockey fans. Your support helps us to keep bringing you stories just like this one from around the world of women's hockey. I'm Chris Sinclair. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time on Rinkside Rundown.